Hey guys, Joe and Ribs coming at you with another daily Slay the Spire video. Today I want to start an over-explained Ironclad Ascension 15 series. Hopefully this will be a three-parter. Hopefully we'll get through 3 acts. Ironclad's a little bit different from Silent. I of course just finished an over-explained Ascension 15 Silent run, which you can check out if you're interested. Some of the very basic stuff I won't be saying again, because I'll assume that most people have watched the Silent run, but Ironclad's very different from Silent, so we're definitely going to have a lot to talk about. Exordium. Greetings. So, we want to look at our Act 1 map and check out our whale options. First off, we're going to be fighting against Slime Boss, who is, in my experience, the most difficult of the Act 1 bosses. The reason that Slime Boss is so difficult for me is that there's so much variance involved in the fight. He actually averages hitting me for more damage than Hexaghost or the Guardian do. And on top of that, there's a massive amount of variance involved in how that damage comes out. There are 3 big things. One is you have this turn in the middle of the fight where you have to try to deal a bunch of damage to him to split him. Which is very abnormal. There aren't any other fights where you have to like deal a lot of damage halfway through the fight. So how good you do at that is going to affect how hard the rest of the fight is massively. 2, he puts many statuses in your deck, and so when you draw those is going to matter a huge amount. And 3, as the fight goes on, he turns into smaller and smaller slimes, and each of those slimes is individually deciding whether to attack you or not each turn. And if they choose to all attack you at once, you may just be dead. If they choose never to attack you, maybe you win in a fight where you didn't really deserve to win. So, Slime Boss is a boss that you don't want to mess around with. You want to be at very high health with a very strong deck in order to take him on. I've got a 4 elite path here with very few campfires. That is interesting to me. It's only 1 campfire, 4 elites. Let's see if we have anything strong from the whale. Lose all gold for 14 HP. We are going to a store. It's in the second half of the act. Obtain 100 gold, choose a card to attain, or random boss relic. For Ironclad, going random boss relic is much less appealing than it is on Silent. The Burning Blood giving us 6 HP at the end of each combat is just incredible. If you look at the value of sustain or max HP relics, this is just better than almost all of them. It's a very, very, very strong relic. So we probably don't want to do that. It's much less likely that we end up with a stronger relic from the deal than it is with Silent. Choosing a card to obtain is generally fine value. You'll take it if there's nothing else. However, we do have either 100 gold or 14 HP. Both of those are considerably better than 1 card choice here, I think. I'm going to lose all gold for max HP. Max HP is more valuable on Ironclad than Silent, I would say, because Ironclad has more ways available to regain health in easier fights. So if I get up to 89 hit points right now, if I take a fight and go down to like 30 or something, my Burning Blood can slowly sustain me back up toward max. My cards can do so. If I get a Reaper, it gains me health during fights. There are some other sustain relics which are available to Ironclad, which are not available to Silent. Magic Flower and Black Blood are the 2 I'm thinking about, and there may be others. So the max HP is really nice. It's really nice against the Slime Boss, because like I just said, it's a very high variance fight, so having the ability to be on high HP against him is great. And I'm going to try to get 4 elites with it. So that's cool too. I think that going after 4 elites here is quite reasonable. The other act paths are okay. There's nothing with like a ton of value really. Ironclad benefits less from relics than Silent in my opinion. That is definitely something to keep in mind. I think that Silent's relics are a much bigger deal, whereas Ironclad typically gets basically everything out of his cards. Just doesn't need as strong relics. This is really interesting. But yeah, relics are still going to be good on Ironclad for sure. Also, Ironclad doesn't like play as many cards a turn, which interacts with a ton of relics. Like a ton of relics are just better on Silent, because Silent does a better job of abusing the value that they generate. Heavy Blade, Corruption, and Blood for Blood. I'm thinking about taking Blood for Blood here. It's a clearly bad card at the moment, which could be very useful in elite fights. I don't think it's very good against Gremlin Knob, I guess. I'm not sure how good it is against Lagavulin. It's like so-so. And against Tri-Sentinels, it's just fine. So we could take it or we could not take it. Corruption this early I do not think is good, especially if we expect the deck to do difficult things. Heavy Blade this early with no strength is just not good. It's just not a lot of damage. Maybe we have to skip. We do have a very easy bailout. If we get to this node and can't fight elites, we just go left. It's no big deal at all. Okay. Ultimately, the problem is that Blood for Blood's just so bad the first time we draw it there that I do not think it's worth grabbing. I think we have to take 6 here. We drew very low damage on the first turn of the fight, and we don't generate very much block with Ironclad. Next turn we have Bash Strike is 17, so we have to take another 5, unfortunately. It was just unlucky that we didn't draw much damage in turn 1. But we get through that fight okay. We've got to pick between Spot Weakness, Twin Strike, and Iron Wave. Okay. I want to talk a little bit about the starting deck for Ironclad, actually. For Silent, you have 1 and 0 energy cards, which are weighted toward block on Silent. You have 5 defends, a survivor. You only have 4 defends, actually. No, you have 5, right? 5 defends, a survivor, and a neutralize, all of which are defensive cards, plus the 5 strikes. And for Ironclad, we've taken 3 defensive cards out and added a Bash, which is a purely offensive card. We've also taken the 0-cost card out and 2 of the 1-costs and added a 2-cost card. 3 of the 1-costs, whatever. The result is that this deck has much higher average card cost than the Silent deck does. And so getting low-cost cards into the deck early is very nice. You typically cannot play all of the cards that you draw in a turn as Ironclad for the entirety of Act 1, pretty much, unless you're fighting against specifically Tri-Sentries. So higher-cost cards, generally speaking, go down a little bit in value, and lower-cost cards go up a bit in value if you want your deck to be strong early. The problem with Spot Weakness is that it doesn't work consistently at all against Act 1 elites. It does not work consistently at all against Slime Boss, and those are the things we need to kill right now. So I'm not very interested in that. Twin Strike and Iron Wave are both very clear improvements to the deck. We've got, you know, 10 damage for 1 energy, or 5 damage and 5 block for 1 energy. Iron Wave is an attack, so it is a way to generate block against Gremlin Knob, which does not gain him strength. Unfortunately, both of these cards get hit twice by Lagavulin's debuff. Twin Strike will go down to dealing 4 damage twice, which means -2 damage, and Iron Wave will go down to 4 block and 4 damage, which means -1 block and damage. They're comparable cards. Twin Strike's generally a stronger one because it scales well with Strength, and Strength is the scaling that's most available to Ironclad. However, I think I'm going to go for an Iron Wave here. Usually I would take Twin Strike in this situation, but we're fighting so many elites early that I think the block from Iron Wave will prove valuable. I'm going to try it out. Iron Wave is not a card that I'm usually very excited to have in an Ironclad deck. It's an okay bloat card. It's like, if every card in your deck were Iron Wave, you'd lose, but you wouldn't lose by that much, if that makes sense. So yeah, I'm not like a huge fan of it, but I think it may be alright here. And it's certainly fine through Act 1. Like, it's better than the current cards in our deck by a mile. Got a Fire Pot, which is very valuable against elites, especially Gremlin Knob. We have a pick between Armaments, Feel No Pain, and Warcry here. This is the new and unimproved Feel No Pain. The numbers have just been lowered by 1 on this on the beta branch quite recently. The card was too strong, and is still very strong in my opinion. I'm going to take Feel No Pain here. I think it's still insane. Feel No Pain turns the Tri-Sentinels fight into a complete pushover. It's not great against Gremlin Knob at all, but against Lagavulin we can play it on the first cycle through the deck and it's inoffensive. And then against Slime Boss, it means that we can actually play all the slime effects that get put in our deck to gain block, and that block is unaffected by Frail. If we upgrade Feel No Pain, they all gain us 5 block, so they're actually decent cards. There are also just a ton of exhaust cards in the Ironclad card pool. I mean, we already have an Ascender's Bane, so Feel No Pain already gains us 3 block at some point in the fight, quite likely. Tons of cards with exhaust written on them in the Ironclad card pool, so we can very easily head into a strong deck built around those. Armaments was a good option also. Just want to point it out, because we didn't take it. But I think an early Armaments is just fine, and it's a good upgrade target early on actually as well. So it would have been a nice turn for an Iron Wave, huh? Oh, we're just attacking more, okay. You can Feel No Pain for 3 block here. Got a little bit unlucky with how those guys decided to spend their first 2 turns. I don't think they always all attack you 2 turns in a row. We are weakened, but we can easily make enough block to survive this attack. Or not take damage in this attack. Taking another 8. Good grief. Good grief. It's the most damage I can remember ever taking from this fight. Some of that's that we have Iron Wave instead of Twin Strike, I think. Twin Strike would have let us kill one early. We also could have used the Fire Potion there, but I think it's more valuable against elites. I'm going to take a Twin Strike. Perfected Strike and Heavy Blade are both just much worse forms of damage than Twin Strike is right now. Twin Strike just deals more damage per energy, and that's... I mean, they're all cards that only attack, so that's our reasoning. It's not the most complex decision. Nothing to do here except attack 3 times, take 16 unfortunately. We have an Ancient Pot if he decides to vulnerable us. Iron Wave gains us 5 health in this fight. Here's the vulnerable. So we could try to Ancient Pot and just not kill him until the turn after next, but I think blocking and then using Fire Pot next turn makes more sense. Or we don't even need to. That's nice how that worked out. We have 29 gold, the Courier, and a Block Potion. And our card selection is between Sword Boomerang, Whirlwind, and Headbutt. Unfortunately, Whirlwind sort of gets hit in the worst imaginable way by Lagavulin. So does Sword Boomerang. So Headbutt's alright. And probably the only one that we can reasonably take here. The Courier as a relic is fine. It's just extra gold, basically. We'll go to a store eventually if we're not dead. So Headbutt lets us put Iron Wave on top of our deck, basically. Iron Wave is the only good card in our deck at the moment, it seems like. I believe we have to upgrade Bash, unfortunately. Resting with our extra 14 max HP gets us 26 health, but I think that Bash will yield significantly more valuable returns. We still have a Feel No Pain for the Tri-Sentry site, which is what we get. That's awesome. We could use a Fire Potion in this fight, probably. Or Block Potion might be better. Fire Potion gets saved for Gremlin or Lagavulin next. We'll see what we draw next turn. Because I think Iron Wave, Strike, Defend was just the obvious play that turn. I don't think there was any real decision making going on. Okay, Fire Potion seems perfect. We get Feel No Pain in play, so now every time we draw a Daze, it's actually blocking for 3 for us, and it should make it pretty difficult for us to take damage in the rest of the fight. Just throw an Iron Wave on top. So we gained health in that elite fight. Assuming that we actually win. I don't know, the Feel No Pain has been nerfed, so we're getting 1 less block from the Dazes. I'm pretty sure we're still fine. We could take 1 more damage. Oh. I want to headbutt this guy. I'd rather use the 9 damage from headbutt to kill him without wasting any damage. Yeah, we do take 1. Gross. Then get him dead 1 turn earlier when all he's doing is attacking us for 0. So Feel No Pain nerf has so far cost us 1 health. Alright, we'll keep track of that. Got an oddly smooth stone. Start of each combat we gain 1 dexterity. That is awesome. Ironclad has lots of cards which have block written on them, including Iron Wave, which you put in the deck, but sort of struggles to generate enough block using them because dexterity is so hard to come by. So getting an oddly smooth stone is just wonderful. Got a Burning Pact, Clash, and a Pummel. Whew. This is a very tough pick, I think. So, Clash is a lot worse on Ascension 15 than it is at other difficulties. There are 2 things going into that. One is that Ascender's Bane exists, so if we draw it with Ascender's Bane this first time through the deck, we don't get to play it ever. The second thing is that you just can't out-damage enemies at Ascension 15 very consistently. Sometimes it will happen, but usually your deck has to be able to block a lot, and blocking a lot requires putting lots of skills in your deck typically, and Clash doesn't get played if you have a lot of skills in your hand. If you think about like a Flame Barrier being in your hand or something, if you have Flame Barrier defend, you can't play Clash. And so it just doesn't get played that often. We're also fighting against Slime Boss, who's going to put statuses in our deck, which would have to be exhausted for it to be played. It could be okay against Slime Boss. We have Feel No Pain, so playing those statuses isn't that bad, but it's just sort of wishful thinking to think that Clash is getting played consistently enough on 3 energy in this deck for it to be a good card right now. Burning Pact exhausts 1 card and draws 2 cards, so it's card draw, which blocks for us, assuming we have Feel No Pain in play. Unfortunately, we can't assume that we have Feel No Pain in play, because there is a first trip through the deck. And currently, I think the first trip through the deck matters a lot. We're currently fighting elites and stuff. We're on relatively low health. And then Pummel is just 2 damage 4 times, which is 8 damage for 1 energy, which is fine, and it exhausts, which means that it will block if we have Feel No Pain in play. It attacks 4 times, which means it's terrible against Lagavulin unless we play it the first time through the deck, and it exhausts itself. Hey, nice. And it strength scales. This is sort of cool. It's like the best strength scaling card we could get right now because it doesn't get absolutely murdered by Lagavulin. While still doing good things for us immediately. So we'll add a Pummel to the deck. I think that that is fine. Calipers. So at the start of your turn, you lose 15 block rather than all of your block. I think Calipers is just like not a very good relic. If you're overblocking by more than 15 every turn, you probably won. Like you've just probably already won if Calipers is doing much for you. And My immediate thought on Calipers is just that I cannot imagine it doing very much for us right now. And the situations where it starts doing stuff for us, I feel like we've already won the game. So Calipers, not very excited about. We got an oddly smooth stone, which is great, but other than that, our relics have not really impressed me so far. In this fight, we have to block against the Mad Gremlin, probably kill the Fat Gremlin now, and kill the Wizard Gremlin like next turn. So we get 8 here, plus 6, plus 5. We hope that Shield Gremlin does not shield the Wizard, but he did. Alright, we can throw Twin Strike on top for 10 damage next turn. We'll just have to hope that the shield doesn't go on Gremlin Wizard again. I'm not sure whether this guy alternates or not. He did that time, but I don't think he has to. I think sometimes he can put the shield on the same guy over and over again. Alright, from here the fight. I mean, the only way that the fight can go poorly for us at this point is if we don't draw a block card. But fortunately, it's hard to not draw a block card. This is a fight that is sometimes a lot worse than it was this time. The gremlins that we fought against were not too bad. We got pretty lucky with our turn 1. We didn't get weakened. Yeah, I think overall we got pretty lucky with which gremlins that were in that fight and ended up gaining 6 HP plus another 12. So we effectively gained 18 HP from that fight and got a card choice. And our card choice is between Armaments, Corruption, and Perfected Strike. So Corruption's very powerful. I don't think it's good yet, but it's very powerful. With coupled with Feel No Pain, it means that our defends are going to be blocking for 9 now, and they cost 0. We only get to play them 4 times in the fight because they exhaust after they are played, but in most fights that's enough. Against the slime boss, we'll actually draw statuses which block for us, so it would be fine to exhaust our defense. There's an Armaments here. Actually, Corruption's pretty good with Calipers as well, with Feel No Pain in the deck. I might go after that. And we just bloat a lot. We could sort of make that work. Corruption's a very hard card to evaluate the strength of. I mean, it's very, very, very strong. It's just hard to evaluate at which point it switches from gumming up your deck to actually being incredibly good. Like, it's not very good against Gremlin Nub or Lagavulin right now, for example. It's just, like, actively bad against Lagavulin. Armaments is fine. It's still fine, in fact. We're not really getting Act 1 upgrades, so it's always going to upgrade a card in our hand, pretty much. It blocks for 6. There's nothing super wrong about the card. We could take one of those. And then Perfected Strike is just good damage, but you don't really have to, like, pursue it further. So Perfected Strike right now, we've got 6 strikes in our deck. I don't know if it counts itself. I don't remember. It's either 18 or 20 damage for 2 energy, which is quite good. And against Slime Boss, where you want to deal a lot of damage in a turn, if you have him vulnerable and then you Perfected Strike him, that's pretty nasty. It's not bad at all. I could see myself taking a Perfected Strike here. The problem with it is that it can get really bad later in the game, especially if we get offered the Bite event in Act 2 and all of our strikes go away. Or if we just want to remove strikes. If we're playing an exhaust strategy, we likely will be exhausting strikes during fights, which is going to cause Perfected Strike to deal less and less damage. So I think I'd rather not. We'll go with an Armaments. Ironclad is more about card synergies and less about relic synergies. And so because of that, your card selections are largely going to be based on like which card synergies you think the best ones are. Because you'll fairly consistently be seeing the cards in the card pool. Whereas with relic synergies for Silent, often your card picks massively change depending on what relics you have. because your relics are, you know, you don't get the same relics every single run. So which cards make sense change immensely based on which relics you get. For Ironclad, like a power like Feel No Pain, this is an ability that would be on like a game-changing relic for Silent, but it's just on a card for Ironclad, and you see that all the time. And so you can sort of expect to get a good exhaust synergies every single run because of that. Do we want to put Strike back on top? I'm not sure. We got Gremlin Nub again, which is unfortunate. Him and Lagavulin both hit us pretty hard, to be honest. But Lagavulin's easier to use a regen pot against. We can use Block Pot and Ancient Pot in this fight, I guess. And save the regen pot for the next one. I'm just not sure if we want to put a Strike on top with Headbutt or not. I think we do. We don't really want to play defense. Alright, this is going to be our Ancient Pot to prevent that vulnerable. Ancient Pot's very good in Act 1 for exactly this situation. There aren't that many other situations in Act 1 where Ancient Pot is good, but Ancient Pot is worth so much HP in this exact situation. Now he's coming in for 16. He's vulnerable for a little while longer. We're gonna hope that we get another strike or something next turn. And we can use the block potion or not use the block potion. Doesn't matter that much either way. I guess we use the block potion so we have room in our potion belt. Alright, pretty good fight. We have an Unceasing Top. Whenever we have no cards in hand during our turn, we draw a card. Unfortunately, it's hard to proc this as Ironclad. Have I mentioned yet? Like, Ironclad just doesn't have as good relic interactions as Silent. I think I've said that like 7 times or something. As Silent, you have lots of zero-cost card and like discard cards, and it's a little bit easier to make something like Unceasing Top work. But as Ironclad, if we'd put Corruption in our deck, we could have something going, but we didn't. So, Unceasing Top is, you know, it might draw us a card someday. We'll see. Maybe. I think I'll put Carnage in the deck. Carnage has had its damage upped, deals 20 for 2 energy, which is a lot. And we're about to walk into a slime fight. It's like a Perfected Strike that's good. It deals like the same amount of damage as Perfected Strike for 2 energy, but it self-exhausts, so it can actually block for us with Feel No Pain in play. Or there are many other exhaust synergies that may happen, which could cause the fact that it's ethereal to be beneficial. And it doesn't get to be less damage if we take strikes out of the deck. It's just good damage right now. So we'll grab one of those. Sword Boomerang was fine. Dual Wield was the other option to copy powers or attacks. My experience with Dual Wield is just that it's very hard to draw it in the right hand. If you do, if you get to like copy your Feel No Pain and get 3 Feel No Pains in play, that can be enough to win a boss fight, sure. But in a lot of hallway fights, you'll just draw it in hands where it is not good. And even in some boss fights, you won't draw it with the right cards and you'll lose. So Dual Wield's like a desperation play for me sometimes, which I am not very interested in there. Disarm is a great card for Act 2. Metallicize is just an always good card. Hemokinesis is very good damage, which we unfortunately can't upgrade. Hemokinesis gets a lot better when upgraded. I do love buying relics from stores, but that having been said, I think that Disarm and Metallicize, these are 2 very similar cards, which I just think like both of them are very, very, very valuable. I think Disarm and Metallicize are super strong, and then removing one of the... maybe one of the strikes from this deck would be nice. It's interesting that we haven't seen any source of strength yet, so our pummel is still pretty bad. It's a little bit hard for Ironclad to deal a ton of damage sometimes if you don't see strength. There are definitely ways to do it, but we haven't seen any of the other ways. There's no like body slam combo going on in our deck. I mean, we have a Carnage that deals quite a lot of damage, I guess. armaments, our carnage. Yeah, we'll buy a metallicize. Oh, the store doesn't run out of cards because of the courier. How many copies of metallicize is too many? Definitely buy disarm. Yeah, I'll buy another. Well, fire potion's good actually for the slime boss. Yeah, I'll buy this. I don't know. I think fire potion basically gets us an upgrade, which hits armaments right now, which is very valuable because none of our cards are upgraded. What I mean by that is that I don't think we have to rest if we buy fire potion, because I think we're good enough at killing the slime. I wonder if armaments makes us, or if metallicize makes us good enough at killing the slime as well. What other stuff is there to talk about? Flex would be a source of strength. I think our deck has nowhere near enough attacks for that. I think Flex is typically a card that's more exciting at lower difficulties, where you don't need to defend as much and you're more focused on killing enemies straight up. But it's hard to make an Ascension 15 deck in which Flex is enough to, like, it's hard to make that strategy be enough to win, basically, unless you have some really interesting stuff going on. We do have a spinning top, but it doesn't really interact with Flex in any way right now, because we're still going to have cards left in hand after playing Flex. We're just often going to draw, like, metallicize, disarm, defend, Flex, and what is Flex doing in our hand, in that hand? Not very much. It's reducing our options of cards to play as well. Alright, buy metallicize. There's an inflame. Ironic. It's our first strength that we've seen, and we're slightly short of being able to buy it. Defense an okay card in this deck. I think we'll take out Strike. I'm okay with bloating the deck in general as well. Since we have a Feel No Pain, like adding tons of exhaust cards seems like a good idea. Alright, we want to play all of our powers as much as possible before we actually start this Lagavulin fight. If we get Disarm, double Metallicize, and a Feel No Pain in play, we're going to be able to block, like, forever with an oddly smooth stone as well. Alright. He wakes up next turn. Metallicize, pain, block. I guess Feel No Pain doesn't actually do anything, now that I think about it. Upgrade a Strike. We do need some damage, and our deck's not very good at achieving damage. Especially with Carnage self-exhausting. Not a situation where Carnage's self-exhaust was particularly good for us. Alright. That's a full block. And this is going to be a pretty easy full block as well. Do you want to deal damage with Strike or just remove Feel No Pain? We remove Feel No Pain from the deck, and it will block for 3 with Pummel at some point. Well, at this point, unfortunately. We want to get Pummel out of the deck now, because once our strength gets ticked down by 1, Pummel stops dealing any damage. Iron Wave is a great card next turn. Let's grab that. I was going to regen pod in this fight. I guess I didn't. We can just regen pod in the slime fight, that's fine. Alright. Hopefully we don't take any more damage this fight. Might though. I think we lock up this turn, and I guess we take 18. Whoops. Well, we take 12. It's unfortunate. Drawing Iron Wave would have been better than not drawing Iron Wave right there. Alright. It's a pretty good Lagavulin, despite that. Arakalcum, if you end your turn without block, you gain 6 block. It's a pretty good relic. Doesn't interact very well with anything else that we have so far. We have 3 different block relics, none of which really interact with each other particularly well. And we have a True Grit, Armaments, or Rupture to pick between. So Rupture is a source of strength gain. Whenever you lose HP from a card, gain 1 strength. Unfortunately, it's a like combo-based strength gain, which we do not have any way to turn on at the moment. And there aren't that many ways to turn it on. There's like Combust, Brutality, Hemokinesis is an uncommon, which we saw earlier, which we could have bought and didn't. Even with these cards in the deck, Rupture is still not very good. It's just okay. Second copy of Armaments would be fine, and then a True Grit with a Feel No Pain, I think is what we're going to end up doing. Gain 7 block and exhaust a random card in your hand, so you can start to exhaust down toward a more solid deck. Maybe a deck with only Iron Wave in it. Seems to be the strongest thing we can do right now, unfortunately. Yeah. It's solid. I don't have too much to say about that pick, I guess. I think that, you know, the second Armaments could have been okay, maybe, but the first Armament's a lot better than the second one. So, Metallicize and Orichalcum work very well together. We're going to gain 9 block at the end of this turn, because Orichalcum goes off and Metallicize goes off as well. I think that Carnage deals more damage than Bash there. Unfortunately, Orichalcum doesn't work super well with Feel No Pain. That's okay. We just get our block in. I think we'll have enough damage to kill this guy before he runs away. So it's 4 extra damage on either. Huh. I guess maybe not. Depends if we draw everything. We didn't. That's too bad. So he stole some of our gold. I'm sort of okay with that. I played defensively with my HP, which I think is fine. And we have another True Grit, a Wild Strike, or an Anger. Anger is an interesting card for Ironclad. It deals 5 damage. We add a copy of it to our discard pile. We don't have a Rage in our deck, so it doesn't make block for us, but combined with Spinning Top, that's like a pretty solid combo. Getting this 0-cost attack, which starts to bloat up into our deck. There are going to be fights where that's very good and fights where it's okay. We already have an Orichalcum, which makes me more inclined to grab it. I think Anger is just an okay card on its own. Ironclad does have very expensive cards. We haven't had a single turn in this fight where we've played every card in our hand. So having a 0-cost card which deals damage and which you don't have to worry about like having other cards drawn in tandem with is just really nice. It doesn't require an upgrade, really. There's a True Grit and a Wild Strike as well. We have 1 True Grit. A second isn't terrible, but you'd love to have them upgraded. And we're not going to get that. Wild Strike is just damage. I think it's just slightly worse damage than Anger right now. So we'll take Anger. Anger is good if we're stuck on 3 energy for the next act as well. I think the best upgrade here is Feel No Pain by far, because it lets us play the slimed statuses for 5 block. Alright, let's see how this goes. I think we're going to Anger. We'll see how this goes. Not 100% sure. Do we want to headbutt an Anger on top? Go absolutely insane? Sounds like fun. Man, we are very reliant on putting Feel No Pain in play if we do that. Let's disarm now. It's like not a very good card and I'd rather not have it in the deck. It is a very good card, but in this fight it's just completely irrelevant. Yeah, I'm taking Anger. See what happens. We get to upgrade our Anger. I love it. I think actually upgrading Iron Wave is probably better just to get more health this turn. Okay, so this guy's pattern is he puts 3 slimes in your deck, in your discard pile actually. This is a 1 energy card which can exhaust itself. It blocks your draws, but with Feel No Pain in our deck, it's actually not that bad a card. Then he does nothing for a turn, and then he slams us with a big attack. So we want to like set up to split him 2 turns from now, probably, because we have 2 turns before the next big attack comes. Bashing him will help a lot, which means that we don't want to strike twice here. We only want to strike once. So Bash will put him at 80, and then he splits once he hits half health or below. So next turn we'll put him at 80 and vulnerable, and the turn after we'll just have to deal as much damage as we can. I'm going to play True Grit to exhaust a basic card. The basics are not very good in this deck. They're honestly probably worse than slime effects are. So yeah, they're pretty bad. We have our Feel No Pain in play. We don't get to play Anger that turn. That's fine. And we got a Carnage. Nice. So that's Carnage doing some pretty good work. We could grab another. I'm just gonna go Anger and see what happens. I think we win pretty comfortably, is what happens. Yep, Anger is great here. So we deal 20 damage, which is enough to split either... I think it's better, actually, to not split, though. I'm going to go after the guy who weakens us. The reason for that is that he isn't weakening us right now, whereas this gray guy will frail you, and he is frailing us. So we're going to be frail for 2 turns either way. Frail isn't that relevant, because Slimed still makes 5 block for us, Orichalcum still makes 6, Metallicize still makes 6. This guy weakens us, which does have a more major effect. Hi, Armaments. It's interesting. But we don't have to worry about that happening if he doesn't ever actually get to do so. Alright, let's play these for 15 block. I think you feel no pain. There is attempting to weaken us. This attacks her so much. I think the play ends up being Anger to cancel the weaken and then block for as much as possible here. Let's see, 6 plus 5 is 11, plus 5 is 16. So we go Anger because we desperately want Anger. 6 plus 5 is 11. 17. I don't know, we can also like just bash Anger. Maybe I'm overthinking it. Be weakened though, and we potentially get attacked for a ton. Yeah, I think I'd rather not be weakened. Let's go bash Anger here. That's fine. We take 1 damage. It's not the end of the world. We're still frail, it still doesn't really matter, and Carnage, Anger wins us the fight. Alright. So you got to see Anger working there. The spinning top wasn't really that relevant, right? It didn't actually... It wasn't like we ever, like, drew another 4 cards and played them all. I think there were a couple of times where we drew an extra card and didn't play it. I don't think we ever drew an extra card from spinning top and played it in that fight. So that was just Anger being Anger, even without the spinning top. And I think you could see the strength of it. In a deck with 3 energy, it just enabled us to deal a lot more damage. Yeah, I think it's quite a strong card. Definitely has situations where it's good and situations where it isn't as good. And this one, I think, was a situation where it was good. We got a Demon form to gain 2 strength at the start of each turn. Works pretty well with Anger. A Juggernaut, deal 3 damage to a random enemy every time we gain block. Works, like, okay with Orichalcum. I mean, not very good, honestly. This is an only damage dealing card which doesn't deal front-loaded damage and doesn't really scale up to do good back-loaded damage either. It's a very awkward power, Juggernaut. Hard to make it work. And then double tap this turn, your next attack is played twice. So the best target for that right now is probably Carnage. And it would be an okay card if we drew it with Carnage. The problem with double tap is that you don't draw it with Carnage every time. And a lot of the time it's just going to be a bad card. So I'm going to take Demon Form here. Demon Form solves all the boss fights by itself. It's not the best in Act 2 hallway fights and Act 2 elite fights, perhaps, but it's such a strong card in a deck which already has pretty good mitigation. It's good with anger, because as the fight goes on, you get more and more angers in your deck, but hey, they deal 25 damage, so that's fine. Demon Form's just a great card. Big fan of Demon Form. And we get actually 3 energy relics, all the red ones. Philosopher's Stone gives us an energy at the start of each turn, but all enemies start with 2 strength. That's tough for Ironclad to deal with. Ironclad's not that great at blocking until something broken is happening with combo, synergy, feel no pain stuff, and we aren't there yet. Velvet Choker gain energy at the start of each turn. We cannot play more than 6 cards per turn. This is usually very, very, very good with Ironclad, but I think with Anger and Spinning Top, we're going to regularly run into problems with it as the game goes on. I can just imagine that happening pretty easily, especially if we get offered an offering or something like that. Right now it has almost no downside, but later on we'll start to hit that. I like Velvet Choker a lot on Ironclad. I think situationally it's very good on Silent as well. I am not a person who thinks that, you know, the restriction of playing only 6 cards per turn is a huge drawback, because decks can win by playing 6 cards per turn. That is not an issue. It is not really that difficult to win off 6 cards per turn. Curse Key, though, is just... This is probably the best energy relic, in my opinion, especially on Ironclad, where relics are not as important, so opening the chest isn't quite as big a deal. We gain energy at the start of each turn, and whenever we open a non-boss chest, we obtain a curse. So, you know, once or twice per act, that's going to cause us to lose out on a different relic, or maybe we'll open the chest anyway and gain a curse, but that's just not that big a deal. So we're in Act 2. We're fighting the champ, who is a very, very easy win with Demon Form in our deck. Demon Form just single-handedly kills the champ, so we don't have to worry at all about our boss fight. That's a beautiful thing about putting Demon Form in your deck, is that there are some boss fights where you just win if you have a Demon Form, and the champ is certainly one of them. Oh! I meant to cut the video, because I'm, like, doing this as 3 parts. Sorry, I was so in the zone. Alright, well... Stop, don't look. Spoilers. You'll find this all out tomorrow, I guess. Thanks for tuning in. I hope you enjoyed part 1 of this Overexplained Ironclad series. We had an interesting Act 1. We got through 4 elites. It didn't really do that much for us, to be honest. But, I mean... we got some cool stuff going on. We've got a Spinning Top and Anger, which could be a lot of fun. We've got a Demon Form now, so we have a deck that can scale very well to kill bosses. And we got a little bit of stuff to help us block, including, like, the Disarm plus double Metallicize synergy with Orichalcum is actually ridiculous. We've got 3 very good cards for mitigation, which do not stop Orichalcum from making a 6 block at the end of the turn. So, we got a cool deck going on. Let me know what you thought about Act 1 in the comments. I hope it was valuable to you. I hope some of the discussions about cards and stuff were interesting. In general, for Ironclad, I find that I'm often picking cards based on what I believe the strongest card synergies in Ironclad's card pool are, whereas with Silent, I typically am picking cards based on what I believe works best with the situation that we are in, and that's less appealing to me. I feel like my runs are very similar on Ironclad, and it's not necessarily because I'm always playing right, it's just because conceptually I think that this is the right thing to do, so I'm going to do it over and over again. Whereas with Silent, conceptually, my relics impact how I'm playing so much that I'm constantly experimenting with different strategies. And so some of the card picks in Act 1, like, the reason I picked it was ultimately just, I think that where we're aiming is going to be stronger than aiming somewhere else. And I don't think you should, like, take me at my word that, like, those card picks have to be right. This is how I've learned to play Ironclad and something that I'm comfortable with, but I'm probably not playing perfectly. I mean, okay, I'll let you in on a secret. I'm not playing perfectly. There are definitely ways I can improve, and just understanding all the synergies between all the different cards is what you want to be able to do, and something that I try to do. I've played a lot of Twitch chat drafts on Ironclad, so I've played some really weird Ironclad decks, and I have a decent idea of how everything sort of works together. But there are so many ways that the cards can interact strongly that I haven't, you know, I haven't been able to try out every single possible combination, I don't think. So yeah, like, we took a Feel No Pain very early in Act 1, for example. That's because I just think Feel No Pain is really, really strong. We bought double Metallicize and Disarm at a store. That's because I think those cards are very, very strong. I think those types of mitigation are super nice on Ironclad for hallway fights in particular, and pretty good for elite fights. Disarm's incredible for elite fights. So yeah. We have 4 energy as well. I think we're well set up to win the run. We could have some fun with Act 2 elites. That will be where we lose if we lose. But we have an extra 14 max HP as well, so we've got a nice little buffer. We've still got the regen pot, which I kept saying I was going to use in Act 1, but then never did. And I'm glad that I didn't. There was a point where my brain flipped, and I was like, I'm not going to play with the regen pot in Act 1. I'm going to save that for Act 2. And I never, said that out loud, but at some point I stopped forgetting to use it and started deliberately not using it. Yeah, we're decently set up here. So, hope you guys enjoyed the video, and I will see you all tomorrow. Check out the Discord and Twitch chat links below the video. If you're interested in coming saying hi and stuff, that's where you can get in touch with me most of the time. Bye-bye.